Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment. 32 teams, 32 days, and today we end the series by talking about the Miami Dolphins, and thank God that Miami Dolphins fans did not come out to vote for their team to be voted not last, because this will not be a good video between me and Dolphins fans. Like, I'm just not buying it. And we're going to discuss why in this video. We're going to discuss this team's strengths, discuss this team's weaknesses, give you my statistical projections for this football team, give you my bold predictions for this football team, and then end this video with my official win-loss prediction for the Miami Dolphins. So let's start by talking about their strengths, and let's start by talking about, and this is going to surprise a lot of you, but we're going to start by talking about their running back. I am actually a big fan of Kenyan Drake. I think this guy is going to break out during the 2018-19 season. You've seen the efficiency, 5.4 yards per carry, then his 2016 season, followed by 4.8 yards per carry in his 2017 season. Now he's going to be getting a lot more volume, and I think that's going to bring down the yards per carry a bit, but you see he's efficient. You see he knows how to move out there. He knows how to cut. He knows how to read defenses, and now he's finally going to get the volume he deserves. He's going to break out. I criticized the Dolphins last year for trading Jay Ajayi, but when I sat down and watched the film for Kenyan Drake, I said, whoa, I see what they're talking about. When you combine that with Jay Ajayi's knees, I'm going to take Mr. Kenyan Drake, and I think this year's going to do well. And hey, they do have Frank Gore behind him. Look, let's face it, he's done. But, you know, that's not a horrible compliment to have. I've seen worse, and if you guys can actually move the football passing the ball, and in this Adam Gase offense, which tends to be nice towards running backs, I could see Frank Gore being a good compliment to Kenyan Drake, but I think this team is really going to be predicated around Kenyan Drake. I do believe he is going to be the strength this year for the Miami Dolphins. We move on to the weaknesses though. Okay, let's discuss those. A tight end position, which continues to be a common thread in these videos. I don't know why, but there's a tight end problem in this league right now. Mike Gesicki, he will be starting at tight end. He is your second round pick out of Penn State. I didn't watch tape on him, okay, but here's the thing, it's a second round pick out of Penn State. You're relying on this guy to be your entire tight end production, because behind him you have AJ Derby. He's not going to do anything. That concerns me, okay? I just don't like the idea of starting a second round tight end saying, okay, go out there and do anything. And although I didn't watch his college tape, I watched his preseason tape, and he didn't do anything. And he didn't get open very consistently. I came down with, I think, one ball the entire preseason, so saw nothing from him. Now, they've been raving in training camp about him, but I haven't seen him myself. So I just can't believe right now that there's a strength for this football team. I'm not buying it. With that, so move on to the next weakness for this football team. We got to go quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. Now, I don't think he's that bad. I think he's better than, you know, probably like 6 or 7 starting quarterbacks in this league, but he's just not very good. The last we saw of Ryan Tannehill, he just really wasn't very impressive. And we're at a crossroads when it comes to this guy. Now, luckily, he got paid pretty recently, so he's not in too much danger of being cut or anything. But I think if he doesn't play well this year, they're going to start, you know, having whispers about putting in David Fales by the end of the year. I got to see more from Ryan Tannehill. He's been able to lead this team to winning records to the playoffs before, but I don't know, he's a guy that just looks like he's already capped. I'm not seeing the progression from Ryan Tannehill. I'm not seeing the progression. I'm not seeing advancements in terms of him reading defense. I'm not buying it. I don't think he's a particularly great leader. I never see him leading his team very well, being the consistent guy they desire for him to be. When he was on Hard Knocks, it was early in his career, but since then, it doesn't look like he's, you know, come out of his shell a little bit and led this team a little bit more. So, Ryan Tannehill, for me, the second weakness for this football team. With that, so we have a lot of positions in the middle. I could have easily put linebackers as a weakness, because we don't know what we're going to get from Raekwon McMillan and Jerome Baker, and we're going to find out about that. But I do actually like those guys as prospects, so I'm going to give you guys a break there. Cornerback, I think, will be fine as Minkah Fitzpatrick comes in, and Bobby McCain's still there. I like Bobby McCain. Xavier Howard, not so much, but I think the cornerbacks will be fine. Safety, Rashad Jones, hope he can stay healthy. If he does, that will be fine as well. With that, so we move on to my statistical projections for the Miami Dolphins. Ryan Tannehill, not a great year for Ryan Tannehill. 3,900 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and an 83.0 passer rating. This passer rating would put him about 23rd, maybe 24th in the league, maybe 22nd if he's lucky. You know, I just don't think it's going to be a great year, especially when you look at the wide receivers. They're not very encouraging. Gone is the safety blanket known as Jarvis Landry. Okay, what is he replaced by? Danny Amendola. Okay, this does not give me any confidence whatsoever. Devontae Parker continues to be inconsistent. He's not going to play for probably the first 2 games of the season. Kenny Stills, I mean, he can be all right. Don't get me wrong, but that's not a guy that, you know, NFL defenses are staying up and having nightmares about. So when you combine that with the lack of tight end right now in this roster, I think Ryan Tannehill has one of his worst years. Running back Kenyan Drake. Again, people, I think he breaks out. 250 carries, 1,100 yards, and 8 touchdowns. This is, I think, the 6th. This is like either the 5th or 6th most rushing yards I've given out. So I'm expecting a big year from Kenyan Drake this year. Hopefully they don't limit his production too much by giving too many carries to Frank Gore. I think he's going to do really well. Give him the volume. I would even consider giving him 300 carries as opposed to 250. Wide receiver Kenny Stills, 50 catches, 800 yards, and 4 touchdowns. You know, low on the touchdowns here. It depends what Kenny Stills. It depends on how the offense goes. If the offense is going well, he's a guy that come down with a decent amount of touchdowns. If not, he can come down with like 900 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. I think he's done that before, and it was with New Orleans and Drew Brees. So it just depends with him. So be careful if you're picking up in fantasy. That's one thing I can say for sure. We move on to my bold predictions, and again, Kenyan Drake has a really good year. A top 6 or 7 running back here. I'm expecting big things from Kenyan Drake. In terms of rushing yards and rushing yards only, when you combine his receiving yards, he'll probably end up in 8th or 9th. Like, I still think other fantasy running backs are going to be better than him. It'll be like running back 8 or 9 in terms of fantasy, but I think he will have the rushing yards. I do think he will have those. Bold prediction number 2, Charles Harris finishes with 7+ sacks. You know, he disappointed last year for me. Only 2 sacks he came down with. He was banged up. Now we're going to see him hopefully take a step forward. 7+ sacks for Charles Harris, your first-round pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. And bold prediction number 3, the Dolphins are one of the NFL's top 5 worst teams next year. Guys, I'm not buying it. And look, here's the thing. I got to make cuts. Okay, I always say this. There are some teams you just got to designate and say, I'm picking that team to be trash. And you do it because you're just not in love with the quarterback and you're just not in love with the defense right now. And look, there are encouraging things. I'm encouraged by Micah Fitzpatrick and Raekwon McMillan and Jerome Baker. And again, I think Charles Harris takes a step forward. But as Harris takes a step forward, Cameron Wate's going to take a step back. As Micah Fitzpatrick takes a step forward, Rashad Jones is going to take a step back. And Ryan Tannehill, I think this may be the worst arsenal he's ever had. I'm not encouraged by the arsenal that Ryan Tannehill has right now. I think it's going to make him struggle this season. And the AFC East is not particularly difficult, but I mean, I'm looking for a good reason why the Dolphins are the worst team in there right now. The Jets will be improved with quarterback Sam Darnold, who I think is going to have as good a year as Ryan Tannehill, maybe a little worse, but I think he has a better supporting cast right now, to be quite honest and frank with you. You also look at the rest of your schedule. I mean, I look at up and down the Dolphins' schedule. I just don't see wins. I see teams like the Titans. I know I'm a fan of the Titans. You call me biased that are going to come in and beat you. You were able to beat them last year because Matt Cass was starting. The Dolphins had the 4th worst point differential last season, and they still somehow went 6-10. I think now we're going to see the team that they should have been last year, and that should have been a 3 or 4 win team. They got a little lucky by playing Matt Castle here, and then they were able to sneak up on the Patriots in one game, and they were able to beat the Jets, who were 3-13. I think now we start to see, okay, yeah, the Dolphins are very good. They have a ways to go. I think Adam Gase will survive. I'm not sure if Ryan Tannehill will. I think it's time for the Dolphins to make some changes. And we're going to be encouraged by some young players on this team again, like Kenyan Drake and Raekwon McMillan and Micah Fitzpatrick. But I'm just not buying it for the 2018 Miami Dolphins. My win-loss prediction is 4-12. Best case scenario, I will tell you that it was 7-9, but I got 4-12. And worst case, I think it could be 3-13. So there you go, those are my thoughts on the 2018 Miami Dolphins as we end the 32 teams in 32 days challenge. It was 35 days, but hey, I did it. I did every single team, and now we have my week 1 predictions tomorrow. We have my season predictions tomorrow, and we begin the 2018 NFL season with my game recap of the Atlanta Falcons Philadelphia Eagles after Thursday night. So that said, this has been MJL Sports Fan Entertainment. 32 teams, 32 days, and today it is over. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.